Hi everyone, welcome to my Shoreline Studio. Here we are in the midst of COVID-19 and self-isolating. So Josh is still on the computer screen and we're trying to hook everything up and get everything going. So other than technical issues, we're going to be doing some more interesting things on the gel plate, but we're going to focus more on drawing this time. And I want to talk a little bit about drawing. I think I mentioned before that drawing is a language. And as a language, we're kind of born with it. And it depends what you want to make of it. If you want to take classes or, enhance your skills, then a lot of it just has to do with practice and maybe some study. And in the meantime, drawing can be a lot of fun, and often it's a way to express emotions, things like joy or anger or excitement. And I will try and demonstrate some of those emotions for you in the way I handle my drawing tools on the plate. So let's get to the plate, and we'll start with drawing on paper to begin with. So we're starting off with the drawing aspect of this exercise. I had my charcoal here a second ago. We'll use another one. Now in this case, sometimes you're better off working with your left hand if it's your non-dominant hand. So just start drawing and just let it go, right? And I'm trying to express happiness and joy. So they're not going to be a lot of angular lines. They're going to be soft, rounded, curvilinear. Like you're skipping or, doing something happy. So you're not going to get really any too edgy kind of lines. And I can just mess with the material as well a little bit, give it some tone. It's amazing what the gel plate picks up. So again, I've switched hands, of course, and now we'll see what goes on there printing wise. I might do something a little bit stronger just to give some feeling and to create more of a sense of design. And not everything will print in the background, but it should be not too bad. So what you do then is you place it on the gel plate and rub it down really hard with your Baren or brayer, or whatever you're going to use. Check to see if it's transferred, and it's transferred pretty good. Set that aside because you're going to be doing some work on top of that. Now we go to putting some color on. And it's amazing that it doesn't blur the lines. And we're going to just use some orange. Actually, this is alizarin crimson, sorry. But we will get to orange. Here's my orange. And maybe a little bit of the blue. And we're going to keep these shapes discrete. That means they're not going to be overlapping very much. And so we'll use a little brayer. Give this an interesting shape. Brayer off. You might want to take some of that off. Don't forget that phthalo is extremely intense. Found my other charcoal. It's all right, we'll be using that. And there's a fuzzle on there. Okay. spraying off still. I want a little less, just make an interesting shape. Onto the orange. And orange and blue are complements, as you probably know. So if we put the orange over the blue, we're going to get a gray tone because they neutralize each other. So if you want a nice neutral, that's what you do. Still got fuzzles on there. No problem. Okay. Right, just still brayering off, and then we're going to add some of the alizarin crimson in here. Just make it interesting. The alizarin crimson brayering over the blue will create sort of a violet tone, so we're going to get some interesting stuff happening. Now we're just going to go back to our original drawing here and lining it up with the top and brayering, keeping our fingers crossed that it's going to work out. All right, and we have some joyfulness happening with a little bit of moody background. All right. Now, don't forget, we have a ghost print to print. And I still see the occasional weird thing on there. I think the charcoal broke on there or something. And using our Beren to get the ghost print. And it'll be a little bit more diffuse, not quite so sharp. And a little less intensity. But it's quite lovely, as you can see. And see, most of the lines came out from, yeah, we could probably even print some more, but I'm going to clean the plate now because we want to go on to a different color combination. And here's that violet I was talking about, and here's the grade tone when you mix the blue or the orange with the blue. Okay, we're on to anger. Well, I'm very angry with, we have a bit of a flood in our basement right now from all the extra snow we had this year, and my bucket where you squeeze out the mops and things is not working very well, and I broke a piece off, so that makes me really angry. And so these are the kinds of marks when you're feeling a little bit of anger. And so you're going to have lines that look disturbed and bold, edgy, just really, you know, if there's something that's really bugging you, well, it's go for it. Get it out. And of course, I've got charcoal over the place. We'll just get rid of that. Okay. And, okay, I'm liking that. Less is more. Let's see if that transfers. Lots of brayering here to get those marks onto the gel plate. And it transferred pretty well. So again, we put it aside because we'll be using it again. Okay, so the colors of anger, probably red, maybe a touch of diazazine violet, so a little bit of that, not too much. Violet for strength and power, right? And Here's my red. Again, I'll use a little brayer because we have a little bit more control of the color when you use a little brayer, because it doesn't help if you get it all over your hands. And also, alizarin crimson is wonderfully transparent, so it makes printing kind of a joy. You just have to make sure you don't have any funny globby things happening. And I'm going to take off a little bit of the violet because, boy, it's intense. And we're just going to take some of that down. And because we're going to be using the marks that are on the paper already, I'm not too worried that we're going to lose some of the intensity of the marks. We'll get that on the ghost print where things are a little bit more diffuse. So here we are, our piece with the marks. And lighting up. And a little bit of berenning. One thing with printmaking is you get pretty muscular because you're putting your weight and some energy into what you're doing here. So there you go. And we've got the lines, of course, that we had previously. But we're also getting some of the diffuse lines from the background here, and it's making a very harmonious composition, and the design holds together really well. Okay, the little white spots, we're getting a little bit of charcoal from the original, but it just adds to the beauty of it. So that's good. Now, of course, our ghost print. See how that works. We may not get any real strong lines with this ghost print. And then we can go back to our drawing and do it again, transfer another drawing onto the plate, and then redo this piece. It's one way of approaching it. So, lines are interesting, but I don't think we're angry anymore. I think now we've cooled down. All right. Now we're just going to clean the plate again because we're going on to the next emotion. So next up is excitement. And probably excitement has to do with movement. So movement is often diagonal, and so I'm using Rembrandt pastels. They're very soft, buttery kind of pastels, really beautiful, have luscious colors, and I'm just going to use some interesting marks, just energetic. And I should talk to you about the difference between non-representational and abstract. Now, abstract, you're taking something that's real in the sense of our world as far as it could be, something we can name like a house or car, so forth. And you're transforming it in some way, maybe stretching it, maybe using different colors, a different way of representing it. So, and non-representational, of course, is you cannot name anything in it. They are just marks And it's all about feeling, about emotion. And I'm using a lot of diagonals here because that gives movement and flow to something. So that should be enough to transfer. And we'll see how well the pastel transfers to the gel plate. Okay, and we'll set this aside as before. I'm just going to add, this is the plaid acrylic paint, and it's called Antique White. And it doesn't really take down the pastel all that much, but it will make it a little bit more diffuse. You don't want to use too much again, otherwise it'll just overpower your lines. So brayering off. So brayer off until you are seeing the lines again. I was a little heavy-handed with the amount of paint. I usually I have a basket below there and I just chuck the used brayering off pages in there. And then rescue them later because I might use them on something else. So that's pretty good. Lining up. My page is cut to the plate that's underneath the gel plate. And this is 5 by 7, so it is 6 by 8. It's a nice card size actually. So we'll see what happens. So there's energy for you. And we have a sort of plasticized the pastel so that now you can frame it or do whatever. You could probably put another layer of some kind of medium on top to make sure it's settled down. And now the ghost print. And this time it's gotten quite dry because the plaid dries very quickly. You can add a little bit of the open thinner. We have that here, knocking my lamp around. And that makes it, yeah, that was the trouble. Okay, we have to do that a little bit more. I'm going to add some of this. And I don't know whether it's going to pick it up this time. Picked up a little bit of the color, but we took a little bit too long to get it off, so trouble with that. The cheaper paints, they don't have staying power. They dry very quickly. So okay, let's hope this prints. When I was working out the stuff last night, I found I could actually draw directly on the plate once I had this kind of thing. So it's not bad, as you can see, once I had everything dry on here, because you've got you're not drawing directly on the gelatin plate, you're drawing on the surface that you've created. So it could be done, and we don't have that much time, so we'll try that later. Let's see, I think I'll clean that off and then we'll go on to the next one. So the last emotion I want to talk about is calm. So, you know, think of water on a non-windy day where you maybe have a few ripples. So we're looking at squiggly lines, maybe some interesting blue is a very calming color. Again, curvilinear lines, not edgy, just sort of meandering along, that kind of thing. You can maybe fill some areas in. And slow. So that should be good, and that should transfer. The chalk pastels, there are varieties that are quite a bit harder, and I wouldn't recommend them in that case. These Rembrandt pastels are soft, and they do transfer really well. So that's quite nice. Put that aside. Now we're going to do something a little bit different. Again, we'll go to our antique white. I'm putting a little bit more on, and I'm adding my medium. And we're going to be using a tool. We'll stay in the concept of calmness. And we're going to be removing some of the paint. We'll see how that works in the final print. We'll just smooth it out a little bit more. And no. Because I've added the medium to it, it will not dry quite so quickly. So I'm just going to actually just remove, and we're just going to have some calm, gentle lines. And wipe off the excess, maybe some, and don't you think this is fun? It is fun, you know. You can just do whatever you want, just as long as you're calm, right? Just meander along here. Like going for a walk in the countryside. Now there's a lot of paint there, so it might just squish a little bit and be dendritic, which is a kind of a squished print. Sometimes interesting and sometimes a mess. Nice thing about printmaking, it's not only subjective, it's extremely unpredictable. And that will dry nicely. Where we removed, of course, you see more of the blue. It will become a little bit more transparent as it dries. That's going to be very wet for a while. We'll be showing these as usual at the end of the video. And our ghost print. Because we've removed most of the paint, we're not going to have, you know, this problem of, and we have a lot of nice whites actually. And I would say we could almost redo the drawing, maybe give more impact to the drawing. The whites are nice and the blues are very subtle, so it is a very calm piece. So I think after the fact probably I would draw back into it, and so probably would you. Okay, now next thing we're going to do is we're going to be working with black. So onto black paper, same process, nice marks. I'll let you guess the emotion this time. I'm just going to be doing a few marks. I might use my left hand just to be a little bit more spontaneous. you can turn your paper as well to, and see, sometimes your left hand, if that's your non-dominant hand, gives you more interesting marks. So what would you guess this one is? Are we calm? Are we excited? Okay, we need a few more up here. And of course you can have lines going off the side, that's, as long as they're not in the corners, and nothing too dead middle because that's boring. And I've got chalk dust all over me. All right, transferring. So that transfers nicely. Now you have to choose colors that have a certain amount of intensity when you're working on the black. So I think we'll go back to the orange. Red is probably a little bit too dark. How about some quinacridone azo yellow? No, actually this is quinacridone nickel azo gold. This will do. And maybe a bit of yellow to go with that. Maybe this is about growth and spring, which has been so long in coming this winter. All that snow, now our area's getting flooding, so as if, you know, the world doesn't have enough trouble right now. And I hope you are all keeping safe and doing your distance stuff and taking some time to enjoy yourself at home, taking a breather. Isn't that yummy in color? Just spraying. And it's quite nice. So the tones are not quite as sharp as they would be from using the black charcoal, but it's good. Go Sprint. And this paper, black paper, is very absorbent. That might make a difference in how intense your colors are going to be. So it's much more subtle. You probably need to work into it with another color, which I think I will do. So we'll set that aside. We'll go to the orange. And add a little bit more interest. And don't forget the little tool we have. I can scrape some of it away and it'll see both the black and the... Now we have to stay in character here. So slightly curvy linear, taking some of that off. This paint could be a little more fluid and we'd be able to get more off. I might change tools here, maybe scrape some back. Not so easy, but it should be interesting. You don't want to gouge your gel plate, so be careful. All right. I will try and do maybe take some off in a circle. We want to reveal the background a little bit. You're going to have some very nice textures. And we need to print. So there's a little bit of black showing that picked up some of the yellow. I won't do another print of that unless we do it on the white. We could try the white. No, I think we'll just leave it as is. Okay, we're going to clean up again and go on to the next part. So I'm going to work with blue here. I want it to remain fairly subtle and cool in the background. We're going to be doing some scraping, and so the marks will not be so much the work on the drawing part. And learn about your tools. You know, you can do thick, hard lines. You can do thin, really thin, soft, and really hard. You know, play with this kind of thing and see what turns up. And you'll learn so much about what pastels will do. And of course, it will inform your printmaking as well. I want to leave a lot of black space on this one. Now transferring it over. Good. Yeah, we'll just set that aside as before. Oh, what colors would be good with this? I'm going to use my orange because it's a complement, and we're going to just tone it down a little bit with the white, antique white. And then we're going to add some medium because I want to be able to scrape the orange down. Okay, let's get this on there. Kind of an interesting combination. Almost getting a rainbow roll here. Okay, brayering off. Let's find our tools. And you can see, look at your tools and, you know, what kind of marks do they make. Start playing with it. The lines, swirls, squiggles. That's what that one does. And maybe this one. I'm not even thinking, it's just straight spontaneous stuff. The universe is looking after me. Here's our little drawing tool. Again, what kind of marks will it make? You know, experiment. Be curious, what does it do? I can take stuff off that way. It has a bit of an edge, if you can see, like a pen almost. And has, you know, you can make marks like that. Experiment and play and see what you come up with. You just never know. I think this would probably be energy. And let's, oops, guess what? I nearly forgot. That'll be for the ghost print. Oh, yes. Now, isn't that energetic? Plus, you know, some undertones there. We still have enough paint. Let's put it on this one. This one was kind of too subtle before. And that's the thing to do. If you do a print and it's not quite saying what you want it to say, well, put on another layer. That's the joy of printmaking. Now the blue is not transferring, so we rub a little harder. And if you take your time looking at things, like just lift a corner and see what's happening. Oh, the blue is in there. It's very subtle. We're going to brayer a little bit more. Right. Okay, you can see there's just a hint of the blue. And the marks are quite lovely, and where I've scraped it back, then you get what's in the background, a little bit of the blue, and of course the black. So beautiful. Okay, well, that's it for now. Phew, well, that was pretty hair-raising. Drawing can be exciting, and it takes sometimes a lot of energy depending how big the pieces that you're working on. And since we're working on our 5x7, it's you know, not too bad. I really enjoyed this session, and I hope you'll join me another time for, you know, another gel plate or drawing exercise or some other medium that we're going to be tackling. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take care of yourselves and your families. Be good to yourself. Have lots of fun with art. I think it's a good way to relax and not worry so much. And we'll see you another time. And thanks for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now.